Within Caltrans' 20,000 or so employees, there are a small group of about 250 people working not on the state highway system, but with local agencies to help them deliver local transportation projects, or what we call off-system projects.
In local assistance, we administer and guide cities and counties through the federal aid funding process, including taking responsibility for signing off National Environmental Policy Act, or NEPA, the overarching federal environmental impact assessment law first passed in 1970. NEPA must be processed and cleared by every local assistance project with federal funding before a project can move into final design and then into construction.
Based on the project information, the specific location, background research, and technical knowledge, local assistance environmental planners like myself tell the local agencies what studies they need to prepare to comply with NEPA for their project. Even for small projects, we have found this list can get quite long indeed.
What could we do? Our task when complying with NEPA is to assess the environmental impacts of the project and ensure the local agency have considered how to mitigate the negative environmental impacts. As well as NEPA, there are a number of other laws which relate to different environmental topics: the Clean Air Act, the National Historic Preservation Act, the Federal Endangered Species Act, to name a few. And these all have to be adhered to as well.
Now, many of these local assistance projects are very similar to each other. Road rehabilitation projects, pedestrian safety projects, bicycle network projects. District 4, local assistance, may get to see 70 to 100 of these projects every year. And so we became very familiar with what the environmental impacts are likely to be, and therefore what mitigations can appropriately be proposed. An important thing to remember about NEPA is that the mitigation has to be commensurate with the scale of impact.
So, here in District 4, we pooled our knowledge.
When you are looking at NEPA, you want the project sponsor, in this case, the local agency, to really own the mitigation. It's their project, it's their road and a bike path and sidewalk. Through NEPA, we encourage them to think, what's the environmental impact of what they are building, and what mitigation should therefore be proposed.
But at the same time, we recognise that we in Caltrans Officer Local Assistance hold the information about what every other local agency is doing in similar situations. So, for smaller projects that we call having a categorical exclusion from NEPA, it makes more sense for us to provide the local agency with a standard list of possible mitigations, a list from which they can pick the ones that apply to their project, and they can modify them as necessary, so they still own the mitigation.
It really reduces the number of studies the local agencies have to carry out. We could tick a box without studies on our preliminary environmental study intake form. The amount of paperwork local agencies have to submit to Caltrans gets reduced, and we could deliver their NEPA approval faster, allowing projects to move into construction quicker.
We rolled this innovation out in November 2019 at a meeting with all the Bay Area local agencies. Almost a year later, we've probably handled about 15 to 20 projects using this new methodology.
And so far, the feedback from our customers, the local agency themselves, have been great.
In fact, we're actually finding that we put more mitigation down on our environmental documentation than we did before.
It's a win for the environment, a win for efficiency, and a win for the local agency.